I didn't even know Mike endorsed me, but I'll take it. We have a lot of endorsements, I'll tell you that. The voters are our biggest endorsement. We have a lot of endorsers. So thank you, Mike, and we'll get things moving and we'll get them changed. So this is the Sylvania, where it closed its plant. They closed the plant. 139 workers went to Mexico. They also went to China. That was in 2014. And here's what you have right now. You have Rockwell, some of the people that moved out of just this area in New Hampshire. You have Rockwell Automation, Inc. It closed its plant. 170 workers moved, in this case, all to Mexico. That was in 2009. Ethan Allen Interiors closed its plant, laid off 260 people. The workers all moved to Mexico, and it wasn't so much the workers. The workers stayed here for the most part. People from Mexico took their jobs. Freudenberg Knock closed its plant and laid off 120 workers. They moved their jobs to Mexico in 2008. Risden Ams closed its plant, laid off 40 workers, and moved their jobs to Mexico. Regional job losses have been fantastically poor, fantastically bad, and disgraceful. New Hampshire has lost 31% of their manufacturing jobs since NAFTA. Just think of that. 36% since China entered the World Trade Organization. That's a lot of jobs. That's a big chunk, almost 50% of your manufacturing. Pennsylvania's lost 36% of their manufacturing jobs since NAFTA and 34% since China entered the WTO. Ohio, and remember, Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, just for those of you that have any questions. Bill Clinton, signature right on the bottom. Ohio lost 34% of their manufacturing jobs since NAFTA, 32% since China entered the WTO. Another Clinton disaster. Maine lost 39% of their manufacturing jobs since NAFTA, 39%, and 34% since China entered the WTO. So, it's not very hard to explain. It's not very hard to understand. What is difficult is to figure out why people did this. Why? We have expansion plans in this country. We have all sorts of plans, but there's no expansion. We have job losses, and other countries have massive expansion. We have $500 billion trade deficits with China, massive trade deficits with Japan. Take a look at the imbalance in trade between Japan and the United States. They send us millions of cars. We send them beef. And you ought to take a look at a chart sometime and just take a look at the difference between what we send them and what they send us. Mexico, and I respect Mexico, I respect their leaders. What they've done to us is incredible. Their leaders are so much smarter, so much sharper, and it's incredible. In fact, that could be a Mexican plane up there. They're getting ready to attack. So that's the way it is, folks. I just want to say that this is a factory and the legacy, really, of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, because this legacy is largely due, and you could actually say entirely due, to NAFTA. The plant closed its doors and shipped its jobs to Mexico, China. They did commercial lighting. They were a very big company. I used to do business with them. The real Clinton Global Initiative is their economic plan to ship America's jobs overseas. That's what's happening. Whether we like it, whether we don't like it, it's what's happening, and everybody knows it. So you're looking here really at a plant and the wreckage of NAFTA and the wreckage of China's entrance into the World Trade Organization. America has lost nearly 1/3 of its manufacturing jobs since 1997. This is America we're talking about, since 1997, driven by these two Hillary Clinton understood and backed, and Bill Clinton certainly as the president, initiatives. They are a disaster. And now they want to go into TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. That will make NAFTA, in my opinion, look like a baby. Trans-Pacific Partnership, it's over 5,000 pages long. Every country that's in that partnership has studied every word, every comma, every sentence, every paragraph. Our guys probably haven't even read it. This is the way we do business. All you have to do is look at Obamacare, look at what passed, where Congress, the senators, practically nobody even read it. And now do we have a mess with Obamacare? So the same thing is going on with TPP. Just like Hillary Clinton pushed through the trade deal with South Korea, that killed another 100,000 jobs, and she pushed it through. Look at what passed, where Congress, the senators, practically nobody even read it. And now do we have a mess with Obamacare? So the same thing is going on with TPP. Just like Hillary Clinton pushed through the trade deal with South Korea, that killed another 100,000 jobs, and she pushed it through. After pledging she wouldn't, and she did pledge she was not going to do that, but it happened. So South Korea, another big beneficiary, and we protect them. We have 28,000 soldiers right now on the line between North and South. And what happens? What happens? If there's a war, we get involved. In the meantime, they're killing us on trade. Nothing against South Korea. I do a lot of business with South Korea. I have buildings over there. But honestly, we have to get smart, folks. We can't continue to do this. They are an economic behemoth. We protect them. They don't reimburse us for what it's costing. And we're going to soon owe $21 trillion as a country. And our infrastructure is a mess. And many of our plants and factories are just like this that's standing to the side of me. New Hampshire has lost 37% of its manufacturing jobs since China joined the World Trade Organization. And this was a deal that was very, very much pushed by Hillary Clinton. Today, our manufacturing trade deficit with the world is nearly $800 billion. So we have a trade deficit. We trade. We have a deficit of $800 billion. Nothing new. In fact, it's amazing that for years we've had massive deficits. Now it's getting higher, it's getting worse. These countries are treating us like we're children because we have leaders that don't know what's going on. The trade deficit was only $84 billion when Bill Clinton was first inaugurated. So we've taken it from $84 billion, which is a lot of money, to now $800 billion and going up fast. Unless I become president, you will see a drop like you've never seen before. You will never see before. And don't forget, when our factories close, the nearby businesses suffer. And you see that in this area. You see that in every area. Look at New York State. I won New York State in a massive landslide. And I went around and toured it. I'm from there, but I had no idea. When you go upstate, when you go out to parts of Long Island, Suffolk County, it's incredible when you take a look at the devastation. When you take a look at the devastation that took place in New York and Pennsylvania and Connecticut. Connecticut's a great state. I love Connecticut. Devastation caused mostly by NAFTA, caused mostly by companies moving out of Connecticut and New York and Pennsylvania and Maryland, by the way, and Rhode Island. I had these all at one time, and Delaware. And we won every single county of every single state. Massive victories because I understand the problem. And it's about jobs. It's about protection. It's about stopping ISIS. It's about a lot of things. But it's also heavily about jobs. And we're going to change it. And we're going to get it changed fast. That I can tell you, and I can promise you that. When you have large numbers of unemployed blue-collar workers, incomes go down across the country, just across the entire country. And it affects so many other businesses. When a plant like this closes, it just affects so much and so many other people, so many other lives, and so many other businesses. When you force workers in America to compete with workers earning $1 a day overseas, our whole standard of living goes down. We have workers for 18 years. They haven't received an increase. Their real wages are lower now than they were 18 years ago. They're working longer hours. They're working harder. They have jobs that they don't like as much, and they're making less money. And there are people in the audience. Don't raise your hand. I don't want to embarrass you. But there are people in the audience that are exactly in that position. And, a lot of people say, well, they make the goods cheaper. Well, by the time they manufacture them and send them over, the transportation's very expensive, and all of these other things, we're better off paying a little bit more and having jobs. It's a much better system, the way it used to be. We manufacture goods, and we then sell those goods to other countries. But we sell them to other countries. And a lot of people say, oh, well, the goods will be cheaper. They'll come in, they'll be cheaper. Yeah, but we lost all our jobs. So we're better off if they're not quite as cheap, and the goods will also be of a higher quality because we do a higher quality good, and we're known for that. But all of a sudden, the jobs are gone, and frankly, the goods can come in cheaply. The people don't have any money to buy them. So that's a problem. Is that right? So we became the richest economy in the world with the biggest middle class in the world by becoming the biggest producer in the world. The wealth this created was shared all across our nation. Then came the era of surging trade deficits. Everyone wanted to go out and let's go, and our government made it possible, so easy. We start sending our factories to various countries. And Mexico has done unbelievably well. Mexico is unbelievable. It's a mini version of what's going on in China. You look at Ford, you look at so many different companies. You look recently, I could name 10 companies just right off the bat. You look at Carrier Air Conditioning. They closed right before my primary in Indiana. They might have been responsible for the victory, other than Bobby Knight, who's probably more responsible than anybody. But we had a big victory in Indiana. Carriers leaving Indiana, going to Mexico, fired all their people. So our middle class has shrunk 10 percentage points since 1970, and share of GDP controlled by workers has steadily declined and shifted to corporations. And the corporations are your special interest people. They're your people with a lot of clout. They're the people that give campaign contributions to Hillary Clinton. These are the people, folks. Look, you're living in a rigged system. I used to say it about the primary, because I'd win a state and I didn't get the votes. I mean, I'd win a state by a lot, and the delegates would go to somebody else. Say, wait a minute, I just won the state of Louisiana. How come the delegates aren't mine? Well, it goes this way and that way. I said, no, you don't understand. And I think I brought out a lot of the flaws because people, maybe they live with this for years. But I'd win states, and all of a sudden I'd find out, where are my delegates? And if I didn't win by massive numbers, because the system's rigged. Look at Bernie Sanders. Look what happened to him with the superdelegates. The Republican system is just as bad, but it's more sophisticated because they don't use superdelegates. Superdelegates are too obvious. But Bernie Sanders with the superdelegates, I mean, that whole deal was also rigged. And I think we're going to get a lot of the Bernie Sanders voters because one thing we had in common, and it's not a lot, but he knew that trade deals were terrible. And I know that trade deals are terrible. The difference is I can fix the trade deals and make them phenomenal. A couple of the people in the Republican Party said, oh, gee, Trump is going against trade. I'm not against trade. I just want to make better deals. I think it's great. I think having trade is great. I want to make better deals. And I'm always so amazed. I'm always so amazed when I see somebody talking about, my viewpoints. My viewpoints are very simple. I want great deals for this country. Somebody said, are you a free trader? The answer is yes. But to have free trade, you have to have smart people. We don't have smart people representing us. Or we have people that are controlled by the lobbyists and controlled by the special interests. But yes, I'm a free trader. But they said, well, how do you define your stance on trading? One of the reporters asked me this question a few months ago. And I said, here's my stance on trading. I want to make great deals for the United States. Call it fair trade, call it free trade, there's 10 different names we can give it. I want to make great deals for the people of the United States. I want to bring our jobs back. I don't want companies leaving because we don't know what we're doing. And if companies leave and fire, as in the case of Carrier and so many others, there's going to be consequences. They're not going to make their air conditioners in Mexico, send them into the United States. We have 1,400 people that are phenomenal people that helped build that firm. Send them into the United States, and there's no consequence. No, now there's a consequence. The consequence is they're going to pay a 35% tax when that air conditioner comes into the country. And here's what's going to happen. One of two things. Either they're not going to move, which is mostly going to happen, or if it's too late, or they move, because you want to look at their bottom line. Their bottom line's much different, okay? And we're going to have a strong border. We're not going to have a weak border. They're going to have to go through a strong, strong border. But here's the difference. We're either going to keep them here or we're going to make a hell of a lot of money. It's very simple. And they're going to regret that they ever moved. And we're going to keep everybody here. They're not going to leave. And I've watched over the years, I've watched the government, our government. They don't have a clue. They want to give interest-free loans. They want to give all sorts of deals. They don't have a clue. A couple of cases I read about where they took the money and they left anyway. So they got cheap money and then they left because they didn't have good lawyers. It didn't say, like, you have to stay. We're giving you money, stay. So it's very simple. They want to go to another country, they can pay a tax to get their product back into it. They can go the rest of the world, they can do whatever they want. And don't kid yourself, folks. Other countries do that with us. We have a free deal with China. They can put their stuff in, no consequence, no tax, no nothing. Try doing business with China. I have a couple of friends here that are very much involved with New Hampshire. They love New Hampshire. They can't get their product into China. And if they do get it in, they have to pay a massive tax. So you have to have a fair thing going on. And we don't have anything fair. There's nothing fair. The real median earnings of male workers in America has decreased by almost $1,000 from 1973 to here. I mean, think of it. It's hard to believe. And the real median earnings of female workers in America has decreased by $1,154 from 2007 to 2014. That's a short period of time. Median household incomes are now more than $4,000 less than they were in 2000 before we opened our markets to China. Hey, I give China a lot of credit. I have great relationships. I mean, the largest bank in the world from China is a tenant of mine in one of my buildings. I do tremendous business with China, with condominiums. I do business with Bank of America, which is one of the buildings I have in a partnership with another great company in San Francisco, and 1290 Avenue of the America, one of the biggest office buildings in New York, came directly and indirectly right through China. From 1945 to 2001, our economy grew at an average rate of 3.5%. Okay, that's not great, by the way. That's not great. If China goes below 7%, it's like, world scandal. They go to 7%, it's like, we're bragging about 3.5. Well, now we have almost nothing. After China joined the World Trade Organization, our growth rate has been cut in half. And right now, our growth rate for the last quarter is down to practically zero. It's practically zero. Those days are over. The share of men, here's something that's just sad. The share of men in their prime, working years and not working, and they're just not working. So in their prime working years, not working, has nearly tripled since the late 1960s. Think of that. I mean, think of that as a statement for our country. The trade policies of Hillary Clinton, global financiers, and they're all controlling her. They have 100%. They might as well stamp Hillary Clinton on their forehead. They have total control over her. That's why she's going to approve TPP. Just so you understand, she totally approved. She wanted it so badly. She said, this is the gold standards of trading pacts. This is the gold standard. It's all over television. It's all over. And then all of a sudden, she heard me make a speech saying what's wrong with TPP. And she changed. She said, I no longer support it. So she went from the gold standard to I don't support it because she didn't like what I was saying. So she went against it. Now, what happens is if she ever got in, which would be a sad, sad day for our country and our workers especially, they'll take a sentence that doesn't mean anything, make a little change a little comma here or there, and she'll say, now I can finally support it. It's wonderful. And that will be worse than NAFTA, signed by her husband. That would be worse than NAFTA. That will make NAFTA look like a toy, okay? Look like a toy. So just remember, I said it. Hopefully we don't have to experience that. But she will sign it as sure as you're here and sign it 100%. The greatest danger yet is the TPP, another Hillary Clinton trade deal, and that's it. It's going to happen. You know, one of the things with TPP, the single biggest weapon used against us and to destroy our companies is devaluation of currencies. And the greatest ever at that is China. Very smart. They're like grand chess masters. And we're like checker players, but bad ones. They have done such a job on us with devaluation. And NAFTA doesn't cover the subject. And I've said, if you're going to approve this TPP, and if you're going to approve any trade deal, you have to cover currency manipulation, because there's such tremendous currency manipulation. Now, TPP, it's not mentioned. I won't tell you some of the people that went crazy when they wanted to bring it in and put it in, because I went out and I actually did a radio ad for a group of people that love this country, and I did an ad on currency manipulation, how it's not covered by TPP. And if you would have seen the people that were opposed to that, what do we have to lose by having it? It's like, why are people upset that with free trade that I like, that I want to make better deals? I said, I want to make better deals with Mexico. I want to make better deals with China. They say, oh, Trump is messing with free trade. No, I'm messing with bad deals that we can make good. I can make good deals. Why would somebody fight that? I mean, the U.S. Chamber fights. They said, oh, Trump wants to stop free trade. I don't want to stop free trade. I love free trade. But I want to make great deals. I want to take a deal that's faulty, where we're losing hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year. If I can make it good, isn't that a positive thing, okay? That's something Bernie can't do. He's right that they're bad, but he won't be able to fix them. I'll be able to fix them. And if we can't fix them, there are consequences again. We don't trade. And you know how long that'll last? For about 24 hours before they come to the table. But you have to be able to walk. Every time, if you're going to make a good deal, you have to be able to walk. John Kerry never walked from the Iran deal. It's one of the most embarrassing deals I've ever seen in my life. It's a horrible deal, but just as a deal, it's an embarrassment. He never walked. He lost every single point. They get $150 billion back. They get everything. We never got our hostages. We got them when the deal was going to be signed. We should have had those hostages year before. We should have never agreed to a negotiation. We should have said, no way. We should have left the room, and we should have said, guess what? We're doubling up your sanctions. They would have been back on the telephone. Please come back. Please, 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 we beg you, come back. And you know what's going to happen? They would have signed. The hostages would have been out years ago. So it's sad. And I leave you with this because, and then we're going to take some questions, but we've had some pretty good people representing us over the years, I'll tell you. We've had some very, very great people. And let me tell you what they said about trade, because these are our finest, okay? And we also have one other thing. I just want to, and I think I have to say this. We have to immediately withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Immediately. We cannot continue to go on. It's such a one-sided bad deal done by the special interests. We have to withdraw. Okay? We have to. And we should seek a guarantee from Hillary Clinton that she won't sign it. And we'll make great trade deals with people. I want to make great deals. I like one-on-one deals. I don't like massive numbers of countries where nobody's reading it except them. But we want one-on-one with countries that treat us properly, and we're going to treat them properly. Appoint the toughest and smartest trade negotiators who will fight for the American worker. That's what we have to do. We have no choice. We have to do it. Direct Commerce Secretary, I will do that, to identify every violation of trade agreements, then direct all agencies to use every available tool to end the abuses. These are abuses. These aren't like, oh, gee, this is not quite working. These are abuses. They are abusing us. They are taking advantage of us because they think we are being led by very, very stupid people. Believe me. These are abuses. Tell our NAFTA partners we want to renegotiate NAFTA. Want to renegotiate. Hey, we want a better deal, okay? This includes dealing with the VAT on our goods Mexico instituted after we eliminated the tariff, and improving worker protections in both countries. In both countries. If we don't get a better deal, we will withdraw under Article 2205. Very simple. We say we withdraw. I don't think we'll ever withdraw. Because if they ever thought we were going to withdraw, they'll give us everything we want. As an example, we have a situation where some of the richest and biggest and most powerful countries in the world we protect. They only pay us a fraction of what it costs to protect them. I said they got to pay up. And we have to be prepared to withdraw. I don't want to withdraw. But you have to always be prepared. You can't say, oh, gee, we're never going to withdraw, because they're going to say, well, we're never going to negotiate. So Hillary Clinton said, we will stay with our allies. We will never leave our allies. I think it sounds good. It sounds wonderful, except for one thing. Can't make a deal. Because the allies are now going to say, well, listen to her. We're never going to leave. Now, I'll tell you, there may be a point where we withdraw for 2 hours before we get a phone call. Okay? But you can't say we're never, ever, ever going to leave. We protect Japan. We protect Germany. We protect South Korea. We protect Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has so much money, there's never been anything like it. They wouldn't be there for a month if we didn't protect them. They will do whatever we want. And we want to be fair to them. We want to be fair to everybody. But they have to pay. We have these massive deficits. We're like a debtor nation. I told you, $21 trillion very soon. And we're protecting the world. This isn't 30 and 40 and 50 years ago, folks. We're living in a different time. Instruct the Treasury Secretary to label China a currency manipulator. Instruct U.S. trade representatives to bring cases against China's unfair subsidy behavior. I mean, they subsidize all these people that go out, they come into our country, and they kill our companies. Look at what's happening with the steel. They're dumping product all over the place. They are dumping so much product. Our steel companies are getting killed. I'm going to protect our steel workers. I know more about steel workers than anybody that's ever run for office. These are great, great people. They are being killed. Just like the workers, Mike, and the workers here are being just destroyed. They train their workers, and then they lose their job. Think of it. I mean, how sad is that? If China does not immediately stop its improper practices, including theft of trade secrets and intellectual property that costs us millions and millions and millions of jobs, and actually threatens the security of our country, I will use every lawful power to stop the cheating, because that's what it is, cheating, including tariffs under Section 201 and 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 and Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. Trade expansion. Trade expansion for who? So I just wanted to go through a few of those points. And, there are so many things that we could talk forever about trade. There's nothing that's closer to my heart than trade. There's nothing that's closer to my heart, actually, than the workers that are being so badly hurt, so badly taken care of by what we're doing. And it's just not going to happen anymore. When you look back and you look at our great leaders, Abraham Lincoln said, we have to protect ourselves from goods pouring into our country. We want to be a manufacturer. We want goods pouring out of our country, and we want to be paid for it. George Washington talked about it. So many talked about it. The great ones talked about it. The ones we have today, they want to protect the rest of the world. I think it's almost as though they want to protect the world and they don't care about our workers. And Hillary Clinton, honestly, is one of the great abusers. She doesn't understand the workers. She said recently, a few months ago, that she wants to put the miners out of business. Essentially, she said, I'm going to put the miners out of business. By the way, she didn't do too well in West Virginia. I don't imagine she's going to do too well if you look at Pennsylvania, and if you look at some of the other places, Wyoming, some of the other places. I can't imagine who would vote for her. She said, I want to put the miners and the mines out of business. Who would vote for her? We want to put our people back to work. We're going to put them back to work. Just remember that. We're putting our people back to work. Thank you very much. Okay, how about a few questions from anybody? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your comments today on what's a very important issue to me as a manufacturing guy.
Yes, good.
And, cheap products are actually really very expensive. And I believe...
People don't realize that. You're right.
I believe that there's a really simple answer. The best answers are the really simple answers. And you're a cultural leader today. You aspire to be a political leader, but right now you're a cultural leader. And you can use that position to create a cultural change. And it's really simple. It takes about an hour, and it costs $0. And with that, we can restructure manufacturing in this country and bring back jobs and eliminate China as a source. It's really very,
By
very
the way,
simple.
I don't want to eliminate China. I want them to just treat us fairly.
Sure.
We don't have to eliminate China. I want China to sell tremendous numbers of products and items to our country. I don't want to eliminate them. But they can't cheat us any longer. They're cheating.
So
you know, when they do their monetary manipulation, they manipulate and they devalue. When they do that, that's just killing us. Every time they do it, we lose jobs in this country. Go ahead.
So I see that it's up to us, the people. We the people. We get to decide what to buy. And if we have a cultural preference for purchasing the American-made manufactured product, then what that will do is it will create demand for American products. Supply,
well, you're right.
then
And
has no
let me
choice
just
to
tell you,
follow.
it's a good point. Because in Japan and in China, they really want to buy products made in Japan and in China. Whereas the United States, we buy anything. And our people should have more pride in buying made in the USA. Remember the old days we had made in America or made in the USA? And we should put that on. I think I'm going to do that. We should put that on our product. Made in the USA. So thank you very much. So, you know, there are countries that don't want to buy. You know, when we do business, as an example, with Japan, many friends in Japan, they know it's true, they know. They send the cars, we send the beef. A lot of times they send it back. We send things to them, they send it back. Can't get in, can't pass certain tests, okay? And it's better product than what they have. They send it back. China sends things back. And I said before, they tax us, but they send it back. They'd rather send it back than tax us. But if we ever get it in, what they did, look what they did with Boeing. Build a plant, we get all of your information, we get everything you've ever worked for so many years for building airplanes. We're going to take this, we're going to take that. And South Carolina, which is an amazing state that I love so much, and you look at the entire Washington state area where they make so many Boeings, be careful. Because they're building massive Boeing plants in China. Massive. And in addition to that, China's building their own plants, which is probably even a bigger problem. But they force Boeing to build these massive plants. And then all of a sudden they'll do a devaluation and another devaluation. And Boeing will make 100% of the airplanes, not from South Carolina, where they just moved and built some incredible facilities, not from Washington State and the Seattle area. They're going to build from China. And they're going to do that by devaluing their currency. And I tell the people of South Carolina, actually, which was great to me, which was a big win for me, I said, be careful, because that's what's happening as sure as you're sitting there. And in 5 years, you'll say, you know, that Trump was right. Okay, yes, sir, go ahead.
My company, we employed over 22 people. We had some of the finest tool and die makers in the country. We had the latest technology. We spent $1 million in equipment. And it was myself, my father, and it was my great uncle. We lost all of that to China. And you know what we were making? Police badges.
Yeah.
Sacred. They're all being made in China. All you have to do is type in police badges, California, China, and it's all there. I lost all that business. $1 million. I called my Congress people up. Hey, there's something unfair here. They're making this item 2/3 less than me. I said, that's material costs. I went to them. I've got nothing from them at all. They said, oh, we'll have to retrain the workers. For what? We had full Blue Cross. We had paid vacations. We had 401ks. I used to be able to take a 2-week vacation. That's gone. What are you going to do for us?
Okay, so I think, first of all, your story is common to thousands and thousands of companies throughout this country. And in the end, what we're going to do very easily is we're going to make it so when country, when they currency manipulate, when they devalue their currency, which, as you know, makes it impossible to compete, it's costing us a fortune, folks. You know, it sounds good, but it costs because we lose all those jobs. And you're better off paying 10% more, 15% more for the badges or whatever they may be, and all of these people are still working. It's cheaper for our country. It's very profitable for our country. Now, we don't play the game the way they play the game. They play the game to win. We play the game in this country to survive. We're going to start playing the game to win. So just hang in there. I know it's not easy, but hang in there, man. Hang in. So sad. And what you just said, thousands and thousands of companies in our country. Thank you. Go ahead. How about, go ahead.
So when you talk about countering this kind of globalism effort with bringing more profits back to the United States, although that seems very good for small business and the middle class, how do you plan on dealing with a corporate backlash for larger companies who can make a much larger profit when they are when they're exporting?
You're going to have a lot of backlashes. And, you're going to have a backlash where maybe people are going to move from New Hampshire, but they're not going to move out to Mexico, and they're not going to move out to, they can move to another state, like with Carrier. Carrier might move to another state, plenty to choose from. And this way you can really do your own thing. Corporations, I'm not worried about it. Don't forget, my tax plan is cutting business taxes way down and cutting taxes for middle income and everybody way down. And we're going to have over the next 2-3 weeks, we're going to have a very, very highly sophisticated tax plan done with some of the best people, the best economists, the best minds in the world for it. We're going to really have some plan coming up. We put the rudiments in, and the real rudiment is we're going to simplify our tax code, number one, and we're going to cut the hell out of taxes. We're the highest taxed, or just about the highest taxed nation in the world. And our businesses can't compete with other businesses for that reason also. So we're going to make it where the corporations want to come back. And part of the reason and part of the problem that corporations have, in all fairness, is they have to pay so much tax. We have, I think, $5 trillion, but they say $2.5 trillion. I think it's a much higher number than that. Outside of this country, where corporations have this money, they can't get it in because the taxes are so high and because the bureaucracy is just as bad as the taxes. So companies, corporate inversions, companies are actually leaving the United States and going to other countries to pick up their money because they can't get their money in. And that money could be used to rebuild the United States. You're talking about trillions of dollars. So all of these things are covered by me. And I have to say, the Democrats and the Republicans for years all agree on this. What's not to agree with? We're going to bring our money into the United States, trillions of dollars. We bring it into the United States, right? I don't really need those notes because I don't need notes. Aren't I lucky that I don't need? Aren't I lucky? Throw them away. Throw them away. Nice. Nice to have that ability, isn't it? That's a good ability to have. Anyway, but we will do things that are going to be so miraculous, and it'll be fast. It won't take a long period of time. And when China, who I have a great relationship with China, made a lot of money with China, we can make money with China. It's hard to believe as a citizen looking at what they've done to us, but we can make a lot of money with China. I love having open markets with China. And when they know that they're going to be consequences for their cheating, they're not going to do what they are doing. I'll give you an example. They're building right now one of the largest military fortresses in the world in the South China Sea. Now, they're taking our money, they're taking our jobs, they're taking our pride, and they're violating everything there is to violate by building this massive fortress in the South China Sea. And unlike us, they don't get environmental impact permits, by the way. They say build it, they start work the following hour. We say build something, they start work 12 years from now, or does it ever happen, okay? Can you imagine that? They're building an island. They have the biggest excavators in the world, sitting out in the sea, ripping the hell out of the ocean, out of the sea, ripping the hell out of it. And they don't say like, oh, gee, we have to file for an environmental impact permit. They just do what they do. That's because they don't respect us. That's why they do it. They have no respect for our leader. They have no respect for our country. A very, very important man in the world of politics and well beyond politics said to me, Donald, I totally disagreed with your, because I've had this tough stance for a while. Long time. Pretty long time. If you go back, it's actually years, many years. But he said, I really disagreed your tough talk on China and Saudi Arabia and all these countries paying us. And I totally disagreed, except for one thing. I've been called by all of these countries. How do we settle up with Trump? How do we make Trump like us? How do we do it? How do we do it? Now, I'm not saying that in a braggadocious way. I'm just saying that's the way life is. There are no repercussions right now at all for what all of these countries are doing to our countries, to our jobs, to our workers. None. The story that you just told, I mean, there are none. And your congressmen are all these people in the Senate, people in Congress, a congressman, I know everyone. And some are really fine people, and some aren't. And some senators are really fine people, and some aren't. But many of them are totally owned by and taken care of by lobbyists and special interests. Because a friend of mine said, how could the United States allow a deal like so-and-so to happen? And I said, because the special interests take care of them. My friend, who's very smart and very successful but very naive, couldn't believe that anybody... So he said they're stupid. I said, no, they're not stupid. They're totally controlled by their lobbyists, and they're totally controlled by the special interests. And when it's campaign season, millions and millions of dollars are given to some of these people. And it's so simple. Do I know the system well? Okay, how about one more question? That's it. Go ahead. You want to talk? Hello. That's right. Get that mic. Get that mic over there. Go ahead.
Can I hold it?
Yeah, let him hold it. Let him hold it. See, there's a man that knows what he wants. It's my kind of guy. Go ahead.
Well, this might shock you, but we have something in common.
Good.
Respect for human life.
Thank you.
Okay? Now, I have two comments on my deep respect for human life. Okay? Number one, and you can comment on my objections. Number one and number two. Okay? Number one, I'm opposed to the murder of unborn babies being legal. Number two, I'm opposed to our wasting our military in the Middle East on behalf of Zionist Israel. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, let me just tell you that Israel is a very, very important ally of the United States, and we are going to protect them 100%. 100%. They've been our most reliable. It's our true friend over there, and we're going to protect Israel 100%. As to number one, we're with you. Okay, one more. We got to ask one more, because that was a tough question on Israel. That was nasty. Whoa. Are we all for Israel, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Let's go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're for America, too. I agree.
I would say that most of us here read out of the same economic playbook as you.
Right.
Most of us are probably self-employed, so we agree wholeheartedly. What I would like in front of these cameras, once and for all, please put to bed that you will adhere to and follow the United States Constitution
100%.
as your compass for governance.
Okay.
Let them know.
By the way, 100%. I love the question, or the statement in this case, but 100%. You know, during the primaries, where I beat everybody very easily, that was sometimes said, will he follow the Constitution? Folks, one of the great, great instruments ever written, ever conceived, we're with the Constitution 100%, okay? So, and do you think Hillary Clinton would ever do a news conference like this? Totally unvetted. And by the way, speaking of unvetted, we're going to take care of our vets. Just remember that. Al? Where is Al? My Al. I met Al in New Hampshire. I always say he's one of the most loyal people I've ever known. He loves the vets. He fights for the vets. He went to everybody's speeches during the New Hampshire primary and even before. And all of a sudden I noticed he was at mine more and more. And I said, who is this guy? And he's an unbelievable veteran, respected by the veterans more than anybody I know. We have the guys with the fancy suits and the ties that get the big consulting money. This is the guy that's respected more than anybody I know. And stand up, Al. And after a couple of months of listening to everybody else on both sides, Democrat and Republican, He came to us, he said, there's nobody that's going to take care of the vets like you, and I want to come on board. And he is the most amazing guy, and I'll tell you what, he's one of the great things that's happened to me, because we formulated plans and done things that he's taken back to large groups of veterans. And we have plans that are better than any plans ever submitted, and it's going to work well for the vets, work well for the country, and we're going to be proud that we take care of our veterans, and they're going to be proud of our country again. Oh, thank you.
The women auxiliary.
Okay. The women auxiliary. I think the women like me. I don't know. I see. By the way. Thank you. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Kathy Chevalier. I'm legislative chairman for the state of New Hampshire.
Good.
DFW Auxiliary.
Good.
I want to tell you, I'm sorry. I would like to tell you. I want to thank you, first of all, for everything you've done for the veterans. We
Thank
all
you,
in the VFW know what you've done, even if you don't come out and say it. Okay? Very much we appreciate it. But just to mix quickly, Homeland Security and jobs. Why aren't we putting our military retirees on that border or in TSA? Get rid of all these heebie-jobbies they wear at TSA.
Well,
I've seen them myself.
I understand
we need
that.
the veterans back in there to take it. They've fought for this country and defended it. They'll still do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, and we are looking at that. And we are looking at that. We're looking at a lot of things. I have to tell you, as long as you bring it up, though, in terms of the border, some great people, and Al, you know this, I was endorsed by 16,500 Border Patrol agents. These are the people that take care of the border. And first time they've ever endorsed in the history of the union or the group, it's the first time they've ever endorsed a presidential candidate. And I don't even know if they're supposed to be doing it. And they said, we don't even care at this point. It's 16,500 incredible people, Al. These are incredible people that want to do their job. It's easier for them not to do their job, but they want to do their job. And so I was really honored by that. And I was also, as you know, endorsed by Sheriff Joe from Arizona, who's had some great victories lately. So Sheriff Joe is great. So we're going to do a job. Just in finishing, just before I came up, I was told Rasmussen, one of the most highly respected polls, just came out. We're 4 points ahead. So that's good. Okay? We're 4 points ahead. So we're going to have something, I think, that's going to be very exciting. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.